Okay, so Shaul and his 3 sons and his armor bearer were killed on Mount Gilboa. Their bodies were stripped and hanged from the walls of the town Beit Sha'an, and the warriors, brave, courageous men from Yabesh Gilad came, marched in the middle of the night, and pulled their bodies down from the walls of Beit Sha'an and eventually buried them. Okay? The Jewish people lost the battle against the Philistines and fled. Okay, that's the story. Now we're going back to the scene of David. David is south in Ziklag, which is actually a Philistine town, which he has retaken after it was burnt by the Amalekim. Vahi acharei mos Shaul. Shmuel, base Perek Aleph, page 3. Vahi acharei mos Shaul. And it was after the death of Shaul. The David Shav, and David had returned. Mehakos es Amalek. So these 2 stories are happening at the same time. Which happened first? I know it's hard to do. You can't see from the story which happened first, right? Shaul's up there north, David down south. It's like at the same time.
I think it's fair to say that Shaul probably died first.
Really?
I think so.
Okay. I don't think this possibly makes it clear. After the death of Shaul, it doesn't say, and then David returned. And David had returned from striking Amalek. So David is back in Ziklag. Vayoshev David b'Ziklag Yomim Shnayim. David Yoshev means he settled, right? Lashevet in Ziklag Yomim Shnayim, 2 days. So David's been back in Ziklag for 2 days. Vayihi, and he was Vayom Hashlishi, on the 3rd day of his return to Ziklag. Vehine, and suddenly, behold, Aish, a man, came min hamachane, from the camp. Which camp? Me'im Shaul, from being with Shaul, means Shaul's camp. Shaul's camp, his army. Somebody escaped and arrived at David's dwelling place in Ziklag. Uvegadav kiruim, and his garments were torn, very good, ripped. The Adama al Roshai, and there is soil on his head. That's probably a sign of mourning, I guess. Yeah, somewhere on his head. Vayihi, and it was Bevo'o, when he came, El David, to David, Vayipol Outsa, and he fell to the ground. Vayishtachu, and he bowed, prostrated himself to David, who, well, I suppose he's accepting him as his king by doing this. Okay. David said to him, Eimi zeh tovoi, from where did you come? Mizeh means from this. Where? Tavo. From where did you come? And he said, Mimachane Yisrael nimlatiti, from the camp of Israel I escaped.
Nimlatiti is escaped?
Yeah, lehimalet. Lehimalet means to escape. It doesn't mean to escape from prison. Maybe it means to flee. Flee maybe is a better word. Vayomer elav David, me haya hadavar haged nali. What was the matter? Please tell me. Means, I want you to give me all the details. Hageli, tell me the story. Tell me the whole thing from the beginning to the end. Me haya hadavar. What means? What happened? Haged nala. Please tell me. Vayomer, and he said, Asher, that, this is what happened. Nos ha'am, the people fled. Min ha'milchama, from the war. That was the first thing. And that is the first stage in defeat, is when you run away. V'gam harbe nofal min ha'am, and also many people fell from the people. Vayamusu, and they died. So the first thing was they fled, and then they were struck by the Philistines and died. The Gam Shaul, and also Shaul, V'Yehonasan benoi, and Yonasan his son, Mesu, died. Now the truth is it wasn't just Shaul and Yonasan, it was also the other two sons as well. Presumably he mentions those two because he knows that is of primary concern to David more than the other two, because Yonasan is David's best friend.
You would think that this would be the first thing he would say.
No.
He's saying it in chronological order, but...
No, not chronological. He's not saying chronological order.
Because his
No,
son
chronological order is son dies first. He's saying it in from bad to worse. He doesn't want to break the worst news first. I think we had the same story when the messenger came and told Eli about, right at the beginning of the book of Shmuel Aleph, about the story of the ark being captured and his sons dying. Also, it seems to go from break the bad news last.
Also, on the other day, when the 400 men escaped, Amalek guys escaped, or says 400, because that's conveniently numbered the same amount of men that David had. Could it be referring to them? And by the only men that escaped was
David's men?
Yeah.
How would you call them Amalekim? I mean, yes, it's convenient to say number. They're not Amalekim, are they? Not by any stretch. You'll have to find some explanation behind that suggestion. Vayomer David, Pasuk K. And David said, El Hana Hamagidloi. David said to the lad, suddenly become a nar. It was an ish beforehand. Don't know why it's suddenly become a nar. Nar means a youth, who told him, Eich Yadata, how do you know? Okay, there's lots of ways you could know something. You could have heard, you could have seen, you could have been involved. There's lots of ways. I want to know exactly how accurate this story is. Tell me, how do you know? Eich Yadata, how do you know? Ki mei Shaul v'Yonasan benai, that Shaul died and Yonasan his son. And the lad who was telling him said as follows: Nikroi Nikresi Behar HaGilboa. Now the word mikre means to happen. It's usually spelled with a hey, and here it's got an aleph, so I can't really explain that, because with an aleph it usually means to call, right? But it's not the first time I've seen it mean to happen with a hey. So let's assume that's what it means, even though it doesn't fit in so well. I just happened to be on Mount Gilboa. Now this is my first amazement at this report of the story. Right? I just happened to be
at the right place.
I don't know. No, it's not just the right place. You can't just happen to be in the middle of a battle. People just don't go for a walk. I was taking my dog for a walk, and I just saw Shaul's dead body there. Like,
I think he's lying.
no, I just think it's very, very strange. I don't think he's lying. I think it's just a very strange way to describe events. Clearly, if you were there, then God put you there for a reason. You just happened to be there. And that's what he said. I'll talk about it later on. Nikroi Nikresi Bahara Gilboa. I just happened to be on the Mount Gilboa. Vehine, and behold, Shaul Nishan was leaning al Chanisoi on his spear.
Spear, not sword.
Very good. Someone's very observant. Remember that we did yesterday. So that's the first question which the Malbim asked on the story. We know that Shaul tried to commit suicide. I mean, for we know from the story, Shaul committed suicide. Now, if this story is true, again, we don't know because we weren't there, and this guy, David doesn't know, nobody knows. This guy claims to have been there, right? But if this story is true, it doesn't actually fit in with the version mentioned at the end of Shmuel Aleph, where Shaul fell on his sword and died.
Not even his sword.
Well, no, I think the story could have been was his story. Because the other guy also killed himself. Okay? Alright? But here it says spear. So that's the first point. Vehine, and behold, Harechev, the chariot, or the chariots, it's in the singular, but only means in the plural, or the brigade of chariots, Ubale HaParoshim, and the cavalry. Parash is a horse rider. So there's chariots which have horses pulling the chariots, and there's guys who actually ride horses. They're Parashim. Hidbikuhu, had caught up with him. Now that's also something that wasn't mentioned in the story. In the story it says those who caught up with the archers.
Yeah.
Different group of people.
And they didn't catch up with
Archer them. No, it said the word Hidbikuhu. Hidbikuhu means they stuck to him, whatever it means.
Right, but you're a lot farther.
Yeah, okay. The same word was used, but it wasn't the same people. It was a different group.
Harif Shane.
Who?
Far.
Parashim. Parash is a horse rider. Cavalry.
I thought Obai. Oh,
No.
that's
Rechev is like Rechev. Modern Hebrew means a car, right? Something which you ride, but not horse in this sense. It's the chariots. So the chariots and horsemen had caught up with Shaul. So that's a second discrepancy from the original version that we learned. Again, it doesn't have to be discrepancy because this isn't the Navi speaking. This is this lad who may make up the whole story, right? But we'll see. By Yifen Acharov, and he turned behind him, describing Shaul. Yifen, to turn. And they did the word panim, which is to face. The face. Your face is on the verb to face. It's the same word in English. Right?
Turned away from him?
No, he turned backwards. He's looking around. He looked. Oh, look at this fellow.
Okay.
Just happened to be here on the middle of his battleground, right? Vayir Aini, and he saw me. Shaul saw this guy.
Why is that important?
Well, wait a minute. Vayikra Eli, and then he called to me. V'oimar hineini, and I said, here I am. Hinein doesn't just mean here, it means I'm ready to do. Well, Avraham Avinu said that when God said to him, right? And he said to him, bring up his son. Hineini, I'm ready. Ayomer li mi ata, and he says to him, who are you? This is another major question on the story. Who cares who he is? Like, why does it make any difference to the story if the guy is Jim or Jack, Christopher? What difference does it make?
Which side he's on?
Well, it still doesn't make much of a difference. Wait, you'll see the story. But I marry love. I said to him, like Shaul has fallen on his spear or on his sword, right? He's half dead, right? And he says to the guy, who are you? Show me your Teudat Zehut. You show me your ID. Like, what does Shaul care? And when we say really slowly, and I said to him, Amaleki Anoichi, I am an Amalekite. Amalekite just happens to be a Mount Gibor in his war ground between the Jews and the Philistines. And this Amaleki is going for a walk, and he meets Shaul, and he says, how do you do? What's your name? Where you from? And he said to me, Shaul said to me, Amadna alai, stand please upon me, meaning come right next to me. Doesn't mean stand on his body, it means come right next to me. Umoisaseni, and finish me off. So we've seen a few times already, this seems to be quite acceptable. Lamut means to die. Memotet means to completely die. Means you couldn't give someone a wound that he's going to die from, that's called lamut. But when you actually finish that guy off completely, it's called motet. Right? Not motet as it is in modern Hebrew with a tes, which is like you faint. No. Motet, we saw this in David and Goliath. Right? It says that David threw the stone which killed Goliath, then he chopped his head off, and that was motet. So that's what it seems. So Shaul has attempted to kill himself. He wasn't so successful, it would seem, although this wasn't mentioned in the story. He wasn't so successful, according to this version of the story, and he doesn't have the strength to finish himself off because he's half dead, right? Otherwise you just do it again, right? And he asked this fellow, this who happens to be a Amalekite, to finish him off. Ki yodati, because I know, ki lo yichya, that I will not live. Acharei niflo, after his fall, you should really say after my fall, means after having fallen on my spear or sword or whichever it was, I know that I'm not going to survive very long, but I'm in excruciating pain, right? And the quicker you get this over and done with, the better. And also there's a possibility that if it really takes long, the Philistines might capture me, and that'll be really bad because that was the whole trying to avoid the humiliation and the disgrace at the hands of the Philistines. So what did he do?
What are those big lines?
Which big lines? Oh, they're part of the trop telling to make a pause in the reading. Means when you have a munach revi'i, can you see that? Right. So you always, I don't know why, after between two munachs you have that line. And I took the crown which was on his head. Sorry. I missed that.
Yeah, you missed it. Yeah.
I missed the whole thing. Sorry, I don't understand what that. So I'll explain. Why do I missed that from Moses saying to me? Key, why do I want you to kill me? Achazani hashavot.
Where?
Sorry, missed that. We
yeah, we missed that.
Shavat is a word which means the throes of death. Achaz me to take hold of me means death has already taken hold of me. I'm not dead, but I know I'm in the process of dying. That's what Shavat is. Ki chol od nafshi bi, but my life is still in me. And okay, I'm worried that because I'm still alive, the Philistines will get me. That's why I want you to finish him off. V'e'emod alav. So I, this is the reporter, I stood next to him, on top of him, right next to him. Va'amoisesehu, and I finished him off. So this fellow claims to be the one who actually finished Shaul off, though Shaul tried to kill himself, as we mentioned in Shmuel, end of Shmuel Aleph, right? He's still alive when this fellow appears, and he finished him off. Okay? So, according to the Malbim, the reason why before he was falling on his sword and now on his spear, it doesn't say he had his spear through his belly. Doesn't mean he was leaning on his sword, right? On his spear, in order to get the strength to kill himself. It doesn't mean his body was leaning, it means his hand. Through his stomach was his sword. He'd killed himself, right? But he wasn't yet dead. And he needed the strength to finish himself off. And that he was holding himself up with his spear with the hope that he would then have the strength to kill himself. But when he saw this Amalekite, he said, come here, you finish me off. So
Sounds like he's like a third party that wasn't actually there and just wants to get him.
Well, that could also be. Yeah, now, one thing. I'm trying to view the story assuming it's true. You could say the whole thing's been made up. You could do, right? But assuming that it's true, you have to fit the details together, right? Okay, you'll get a view that he just made it up and didn't really know the details actually. Yeah. Okay, but you'll see. You haven't finished the story yet. Okay, but that he says that's why it goes from his sword to his spear. He doesn't say he's fallen on his spear. No, he didn't fall on his spear. He was actually holding himself up on his spear. Anyway, so this guy finishes him off. Ki yadati, because I knew, I meaning the reporter, I knew ki lo yichya. It wasn't like I murdered him, right? I knew that he couldn't live. Acharei niflo. And now that word fits in better. Before I thought it was Shaul speaking, right? After he'd fallen on his sword, I knew that there's no way he could live, and therefore, if Shaul had asked me to kill him, I probably would have refused, just like his armor bearer did. But he didn't ask me to kill him. He was already dead. He'd already killed himself. He just was, laughing out to live. So I just finished him off. And then I took Hanezer, the crown, Asher Arosho, which was on his head. Interesting. Shaul went to battle with a crown on his head. Okay, no helmet, right? They do today. The crown, some type of crown, probably a very symbolic crown. I'm sure it wasn't his best, thing that he did for his coronation, but it was some type of small crown. And I took it. Ve'etz Adah. That's a bracelet, some royal bracelet. This was a proof that he was telling the truth. Had his body been stripped and hung on the walls of Beit Shan, there's no way this guy would have had these two things. So he says, I got there before the Philistines got there. And then he took these and he left the body there. He didn't have the strength to drag it, he didn't know what to do, or he was going taking his dog for a walk, so he had more important things. I had no idea, but he left the body there, right? Because the Philistines didn't leave the body there. And he says, I found Shaul was actually still alive when I found him, and he could be he ran away because he was worried about the Philistines' camp. Don't forget the Philistines. Oh, by the way, also, the reason why it changes from the archers to the horse rider, because this was later on. Shaul had fallen on his sword when the archers had him on his crosses, and he fell on the ground, and now this was later on, 10 minutes, a quarter of an hour later on in the battle, when this Amaleki came along and found Shaul trying to finish himself off the second time. And that's why it was a bit later on. Okay, so he said, I found him, after killing him, I took his crown, I took his bracelet, Asher al Zeroah, which was on his arm. Zeroah is an arm. Va'avi'im, and I brought them, El Adoni, to my master, meaning David, Heina, here. End of the story. That's how I know. You want to know how I know? I didn't hear it, I didn't see it, I was the one who actually did it. I was actually involved in the story, and this is my proof that I did it. Okay, so David can only believe him. That sounds real. David can recognize this is Shaul's crown. He can see this is Shaul's bracelet, and that is real. Vayechazek David b'bigadav, and David took strong. Chazak means strong. He took hold of his garment, Vayikra'im, and he tore them. Notice in the plural, right? It means the custom to do kriya, which is learnt from here and other places, right, is on different things, right? You do kriya lo aleinu on a parent, on a sibling, on a child, on the Beis Hamikdash. There's all sorts of reasons why you do it. He had lots of reasons to do it over here. It was his father-in-law, it was his best friend. These were both big tzaddikim and big Talmidei Chachamim. The Jews had lost the battle. Each of the things was a different reason to do kriya. But what's important is that the custom to do kriya on more than one garment, right, means to go all the way through, is only by a parent or someone like this, was his father-in-law, right? Otherwise you only do it on the outer garment. He went all the way through.
You do it for your father-in-law?
What?
You do it for
I know, but I think this was because it was also the king, and it was also the god Ladar. There are lots of reasons to do it. And actually do it on all, although if you read the Kri Ksiv, you notice, the Ksiv is bigdo, his garment, and the Kri is bibgadav, is the plural. What the idea is, I don't know, but Vayikra'im, and he ripped them. The Gam kol ha'anoshim ha'shavita, and also all the men who were with him, means they also did kriya. So all David's men, that's 600 approximately, right?
Mm-hmm.
More or less. They also did kriya on the news that the king had been killed in battle, and the Jews had lost the war. Vayispadu, and they eulogized. Means David stood up there and gave a eulogy. It wasn't at the burial, wasn't at the funeral, obviously.
David?
But yeah, I mean it says in the plural, but I suppose maybe more than one person did. Vayivku, and they cried. Vayotsumu, and they fasted. Means they didn't eat the rest of the day. Ad ha'erev, until the evening. Al Shaul, because of Shaul. Va'al Yonasan Benai, and Yonasan his son. Not just for that, those are two reasons. Va'al Am Hashem, and because the people of God. Va'al Beis Yisrael, and because the house of Israel, kinoflu bechoreb, that they had fallen by the sword. So there's 4 different reasons. Each one was a reason to fast and to mourn and be upset. Shaul, who was the king, Yonasan, who was David's best friend, also big tzaddik. Am Hashem, the people of Hashem, Va'al Beis Yisrael. Those are 2 different groups of people. You can guess what they represent. Am Hashem to me sounds like a more spiritual group of people because they're called Am Hashem. Maybe they're the warriors who died in battle, who were closest to Shaul, and Beis Yisrael are the rest of the soldiers who died in battle.
It also switches back to the sword.
Yeah, of course. No, Naflu B'chor is an expression of people who died in battle. It doesn't necessarily mean the sword as opposed to a spear, just an expression. Okay, that's the end of the report of the story and the immediate reaction of David and his men. Were obviously very, very upset that all the tragic events. Naflu, they fell. They fell by the sword.
Oh, yeah.
Right? That means they died in battle. So we're talking about, and you've got the officers and the commanders, and you've got the regular soldiers, right? Did more people die? We don't know. We know that other people ran away, right? Just regular civilians. We don't know about other people dying. So David, that's the end of that part of the story. Now we've got more investigation. David said to the lad who said to him, Hey Mizeata, where are you from? What? Didn't I answer that question already?
Yeah.
Didn't Shaul ask me that question?
Yeah.
And what did he answer?
Amalek.
I'm a Maleki. Right? So why is David asking him again? Okay, don't worry about that. And he said, Ben Ish Ger Amaleki Anoichi. Just a minute. He said, I am the son of a man who was an Amalekite convert. I am. So he added a bit more detail to David than when he said it to Shaul. When Shaul asked him, he said, who are you? He said, I'm a Maleki. And when David asked him, he gave into more detail. Which is probably, he understood that David was asking him for more detail. The exact, the answer, I already answered you, right? I'm not expecting him to speak like that to David, but he understood that David wants more detail. Give me more detail when you say Amaleki. Really, Amaleki? Is that what he was? Well, that's what it looks like. I mean, but you're not allowed to. That's what he was, right? I can't pass halacha, but yes, it would see the Rambam says Amalekim can convert. That's how the Rambam paskins, right? Amalekim can convert, and there's no obligation to kill Amalekim who convert, right? No problem. Okay, you hear that? Although there's a mitzvah to war and fight and kill Amalek, but not if they convert. If they convert, it's fine. Right? So he says, I'm not. Well, he says that more. I'm actually. I'm not Amaleki. But you thought he was Amaleki means a real Amaleki, right? Although we have problems with that because Shaul's supposed to have killed Amalek. Okay, so maybe he meant from Amalek, like the other things, or maybe he was just this one Amalek who survived. Whatever. All right, unlike. Right. But he says, no, I'm not actually Amaleki. I get it wrong. I used to be Amaleki, yeah? But my father's already a convert. We call ourselves Amaleki because we used to be. We're actually converts.
What about his mother?
We did. Doesn't mean anything. His father's not convert. Maybe his mother's regular Jewish. Right? Could be. My father, I'm the son of an Amalekite convert. I may love David. David says to him, Aish, lo yaresa lishloyach yodcha l'shachech es Mashiach Hashem. How could you not be scared? Eich means how? Lo yaresa, you were not scared. Lishloyach yodcha, to send your hand. L'shachech, to destroy Mashiach Hashem, the anointed one of God. How could you do such a thing? Yes, he was almost dead. And he committed suicide. And you'd asked him to do it. How could you do such a thing? To kill the anointed one of God? And he didn't even kill him. Yes, maybe, I mean, halachically, he wouldn't have been convicted of murder. Yeah. No, if a person kills a treifa, I just did it today in Daf Yomi. If you kill a treifa, right? In Daf Yomi, no, you thought I killed somebody. No, in Daf Yomi, if you kill a treifa, basically won't kill you because the guy is technically dead already. It's just a matter of. I'm not suggesting you're allowed to do it. No, you're not allowed to do it.
What's a treifa?
A guy a treifa usually means an animal with something wrong with it. It's the same thing, a person who's got something like a hole in his heart, hole in the lungs. So he can't live for very long in any case. So you're not allowed to kill someone like that, but it's not first degree murder. You wouldn't get killed for it. Okay? So clearly, this was much more than a treifa. This was a guy dying. Right? Let me get this right. We're so careful about people who are dying. Like, so that's a slightly different story. I just made that for a person who's dying on his deathbed. Right? That would be first degree murder to kill someone like that. Right? Because just because somebody's dying doesn't make them into a treifa. Let's just clarify that. A treifa means a person who has a wound that he's dying from. People who die of old age are not treifas. They don't die because there's something wrong with them. They just die because they've got no more strength. Someone's compared the difference between a car without an engine to a car without petrol. Right? A car without an engine isn't really a car. Right? A car without petrol is fine, just not got petrol. So an old person who's dying of old age is like a car without petrol, he's just got no strength. That's why if you kill an old person, you have misa. That's why you're very, very careful at the sight of a person who's dying, even after they die, we don't touch them. Like for 20 minutes or something like that. To make sure they're actually properly dead. It's not you who finished them off by
CPR. You don't try?
No. I'm not. Not every person who dies, you do CPR. A guy who dies in his 110, you don't do CPR. Just leave them alone, right? So if we're not trying to do CPR, yeah, you're right. Then we don't touch them for a while to make sure they're properly dead. Okay. So,
yes.
But a treifa is someone who's got something wrong with them, hole in the brain, hole in the lungs, that sort of thing, right? That is what Shaul clearly was. He'd fallen on his sword and he was dying. So. But David says, still, how could you do it? How could you send your hand against the anointed one of God? Vayikra David la'achad me'an ha'arim. David called to one of the lads. And he said, Gash, come here, come close. Pigabo, strike him. Vayakehu, and he struck him. Vayamos, and he died. Whoa.
What?
Interesting turn of events. David had the guy who killed Shaul put to death.
But he didn't actually kill Shaul.
Well, that's the story. You mean because Shaul was half dead already?
Why is this person saying this story? It wasn't actually Shaul.
It was him.
Oh, it was?
Yeah,
I
he
thought
put the
Shaul
photo.
said a different story.
Okay, well,
It's 100% it wasn't?
bring in Megawasa.
You want a different story?
I said we should get you Megawasa.
We'll get you Shaul's
Alright,
thing.
that's it.
Yeah, surely that was the whole we were talking about the last half an hour. Yeah, the story. Yeah, the story was reported differently last time because that was the first half of the story. This was the second half. The Shaul tried to commit suicide, and in the end, he wasn't successful. And this guy finished him off. At least that's the way the story is reported here. We have to assume it's true because we have no other way of knowing, right? And he did bring evidence to show that he was telling the truth by bringing the form of Shaul. He could have added him to it, could have, but there's no need to do that, right? And Shaul had him put to death. David had him put to death for doing this.
Like, what did he think would happen?
Could have
See,
thought that.
I would have asked the question slightly different to you. If he wouldn't have killed Shaul, and he would have let Shaul die there, excruciating pain, until the Philistines caught him, and he would have been put on display, and he would have come to David and said, look, Shaul asked me to kill him, but I couldn't bear the thought of it striking the king. David would have said, you idiot, he asked you to kill him, why didn't you kill him and take him out of his pain? And he would have killed him for doing that. I think this guy was stuck either way, right? Because if he would have refused to listen to the king, David would have killed him for refusing to listen to Shaul. And Navi killed Shaul, so he was killed for killing Shaul.
He might have been under the impression that David.
So David do David.
Oh, sure, he was under the impression that David would say, wow, amazing, we all hate Shaul down. For sure, I should have talked that out. For sure, he thought he was going to get a big prize for killing Shaul. Because everyone thought that David hated Shaul, just like Shaul hated David.
A million times where David was presented with the opportunity to kill Shaul.
You know, so what?
The public.
But that's
Yeah.
Yeah, and even still, but I'm still relieved to get rid of Shaul. Someone else did the dirty work for him, but he's going to thank him for it. I won't do it myself, right? But God will do it, and God sent this guy to do it, right? And like you say, the public didn't necessarily know all these details. But that's what he thought, right? But now I'm saying from David's perspective, what does David want from this guy? Okay, he thought he was going to get rewarded, but he did do what the king wanted him to do, didn't he? This is what Shaul asked him to do.
Yeah.
So I'll tell you a fascinating medrash you're not going to believe, right? But, and I find it hard to accept at face value, but there's a Chazal says that this guy, so it means this guy looks like he's being punished for something. Because he's been put in a situation, what we call a
Lose-lose.
yeah, there's another, isn't it? A catch-22.
Right? Yeah.
Whatever he does, this guy is stuck. If he doesn't kill Shaul, then he's refusing orders, and he'll get killed for refusing orders. If he does kill Shaul, he gets killed for killing the king. So it looks like now.
Could have cut him out.
Chazal say that this guy was, you don't believe this, right? This guy was Doeg. Doeg.
Did he die?
Yes, you do. Doeg was the guy who told the Lashon Hara about David. He was the one who saw David getting the bread when he was in the Mishkan, and he went and told Shaul and told on him. That was Doeg who had Daimi, who was an Edomite. So he wasn't just Amaleki, who was a son of converts. So now, it's true, Shaul says, who are you? Well, he knows who Doeg is, but if a guy's half dead, right, and his vision's going blurred because he's blood all over the place, he can't see anything, it's not so strange that no, Shaul. Like Shaul's asking, who are you? Right? Rega, slow this minute. Right? So that bit of the story you can hear that even though Shaul really knows Doeg well, it explains why he's called an Amaleki, right? Or what he happens to be doing in the battle. He's not taking his dog for a walk. No, he's part of Shaul's men. Right? Oh, good. You asked that a million times. Every medrash can ask the question, why does a medrash elaborate the story? Why doesn't the story itself say the story? I know the answer to that question, right? So that I'll have something to say in class, and not everyone who reads this story in English version of the story will know the real story, right? Okay. Right? It also explains, by the way, why a guy can be in the middle of a battle and just say, I just happened to be there. Is that type of philosophy, that things just happen without God orchestrating it, is the philosophy of Amalek, right? When Amalek meets the Jews, it says, Asher korcha b'derech, who just happened. They don't see the hand of God in anything. And we clearly see the hand of God, and God is exactly putting him exactly where he needs to be, so that he's going to be, whatever he does is going to be stuck. Then there's one last point to the story, which is, why does David ask him who he is when if he's really Doeg, that's a bit of a problem. But even without that, why does David ask him? He's already told who he is. So the commentaries say like this: if he was really a real Amaleki, means the goy, then God couldn't hold it against him for killing Shaul. He told you to do it, A. B, he's the enemy, because you're an Amaleki, right? And Shaul tried to kill Amaleki. So it's not such a big deal that somebody kills Shaul. especially when Shaul asks you to do it. But if you're Jewish, then how could you kill your own king? That's why he says to him that he's an Ger Amaleki. As soon as David hears that he's not an Amaleki, he's not really an Amaleki, he's just descended from, he's actually a convert, then he has no justification for killing him. And that's why David says you had no right to do it, even though he asked you to do it, and therefore he killed him.
Even if he was a regular Amaleki, he would have killed him.
Who? David would? Then maybe David would have killed him for a different reason. Because he's an Amaleki. Okay, because he was supposed to kill Amalek, but David didn't kill him for that reason. David didn't kill him because he was Amalek. On the contrary, that's the question with this story. Some people think that David killed him because he was Amaleki, right? You see from the story the opposite. He would have killed him maybe, right? But he didn't kill. He killed him because he was an Amaleki convert. Does that mean Amaleki can't convert? No, it means that Amaleki convert would have no justification for killing Shaul, and no excuse. And that's why David killed him. Now the question, of course, is yes, but he's still the king, ordered him to do it. And I suppose the answer to that is like we said all along. When it comes to messing with the king, when it comes to anarchy, when it comes to any threat to the authority of the king, no excuses are very accepted. But he told me to. So sometimes that'll be accepted in the court of law. It wasn't my fault. I was under the impression. I thought I was in this. But when it comes to something like as serious as challenging the authority of the king or killing the king, then there's no excuses to take it. You said, you thought, and don't forget, David's going to be king now, and David has to make a precedent to make sure that everyone knows exactly you don't mess with the king, you don't start with the king, and if you do, no excuses will be accepted, and you would be sent to the guillotine.
David, wasn't Doeg the spiritual leader?
Yes.
And David thought maybe he was not Jewish?
I know, that's a good question. I know. Good question. I mean, you can't fit all the things together. Correct. I told you you wouldn't believe it. Good reason. Vayomer loved David, and David said to him, I suppose as he was dying or over his dead body, Damcha al roishcha, your blood is on your head. That's another way of saying it's your fault. Can't blame anybody else. Ki picha anabacha, because your mouth declared about yourself. Means you admitted to what you did. Lamar, if you hadn't said it, I would never have known, but you said it. Anoichi, it was I, Motati, who finished off Es Mashiach Hashem, the anointed one of God. And that's why I killed you. So you've only got yourself to blame because you incriminated yourself. Okay. Now we have a very interesting, beautiful elegy. You know what an elegy is? Or dirge. You know what a dirge is?
Like a poem?
It's a dirge. You know what a dirge is?
It's not a poem.
A dirge is sing a sad song. Right? Right. A sad song is a dirge. A song which is sad. Like what we sing on Tisha B'Av, called kinos. Kinos are dirges. Okay? Or a eulogy. The same word, kina. Kinos, we say on Tisha B'Av, that's the same word. Konen is to do a right. David es a kina hazois. And David sang, or what's the right word to say? This dirge. He dirged this dirge. Right? David es a kina hazois. Al Shaul, about Shaul, Al Yonasan Benai, and about Yonasan his son. And he said, Lelamed Bnei Yehuda Koshes. Hine Kesuva al Sefer HaYosha. So in its style of a dirge, it's a poem. And when it's a poem, it becomes difficult to understand what it's saying. That's the whole nature of poetry. It's not straightforward Hebrew. It's called poetry. Mm-hmm. So this is what he said. Lelamed, to teach Bnei Yehuda, the sons of Judah, Koshes. Koshes is the bow. To teach the sons of Yehuda the bow.
B-O-W?
B-O-W.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Hine, behold, Kesuva, it is written, Al Sefer HaYosha, in the book of the upright. So I told you it was poetry. The just, right. Yashar really means straight. Right? Yashar, smola, adasov. Right? That's how Israelis tend to go somewhere. Yashar means straight. The book of the straight. Now, what's going on? to teach the sons of Yehuda archery, right? That's the art of shooting bows and arrows, the arrows with bows. Behold, it is written in the book of the straight. So the book of the straight is assumed to be the Torah. It could be something else, but that's what Chazal assume it is. I mean, it's the book about straight people. It's actually the book of Bereshis. The book of Bereshis is about Abraham, Yitzchak, about Yaakov. It's about Maisa Avos. It's about to emulate these people who were straight, right? So that's the book about straight people. And in the book of Bereshis, somewhere it says there about teaching the people of Yehuda the art of archery. Now, why do we need the people to teach the sons of Yehuda archery? David doesn't make it clear, but it could be something to do with the fact that these Philistines seem to have been very good archers, and they were the ones who got Shaul. And maybe David feels that this has become a modern warfare. This has become something that we have to learn. Up till now, we knew how to fight with spears and with javelins and swords, but archery wasn't something which we were experts at. Now, it could be some people were, certainly it wasn't just invented. Shaul shot arrows, and even Yishmael in the desert and back hundreds of years before this, right? He was also rovek kashat. But it might be, as far as I know, we don't have evidence that it was used as a weapon of war. It may be used to catch deer, right? But you can kill people, or you have these longbows or really strong ones which can actually kill people from a long distance, and just these little, it could be that something had developed over the years, and we have to learn how to do this because we see we lost this battle. That's what it sounds like David is reacting. Or it could be that up to now the people of Binyamin knew how to fight with bows and arrows, and now the people of Yehuda are now taking over because now Binyamin was the king up till now, and now Yehuda is going to be the king. So our guys have to learn. But I don't think that's really true, because up till now we always saw the people of Yehuda were the elite troops, even before they were the royal tribe, even before David was picked as king. Yehuda were always the elite troops. So it looks more like this was something we have to learn in order to battle the Philistines. But where is that written in the Torah that the people of Yehuda have to learn this? Pass me a chumash, I'll show you where it's hinted to. It's in the bracha of Yaakov to Yehuda. The bracha of Yaakov to Yehuda, the end of Parshas Vayechi. I think that's what it is. I think so. Yes, Yehuda. Now, it's not explicit, right? But this is what possibly David is referring to. Yehuda says like this: Yehuda, you, your brothers, shall acknowledge. Your hand shall be at your enemy's nape. Again, your hand will be at your enemy's nape. Now, you understand that means this is the nape of your neck, right? So it means that's going to do the archery. It means I put my hand around the back of your neck and I do some type of judo flip, and that's how I get you, right? Okay, this is going to do the archery. That's if you translate it the way Archibald does. Rashi translates it differently. Rashi says, let's see if this is over here. No, the article doesn't say anything. Rashi says slightly different. Rashi says it doesn't mean that. It means your hand is at your nape to fight your enemies. It's not your enemy. It's not the back of your enemy. It means when you go like this. Oh. That's what it means, right? And that's describing Yehuda being archers and right? So you've got to go. If it's one of these really strong, you're going to go all the way back to here, right? And then with that, you can kill someone with that.
What does the verse say again?
Here,
your hand shall be at your enemy's nape.
Well, that's how it says in the English. The question is how to translate the Hebrew, right? So the Hebrew just says Yeduch yodcha ba'oref oivecha. So I agree. The simple translation where the art scrolls translated it, right? But I'll show you the Rashi here.
Arshu's a lot older than that. Arshu's like over 10,000 years old.
It's true the world's over more than 10,000 years old.
7
Well, I believe it's 5,780, right? No, so I'm saying, I already said, you see from the Tanach itself that archery existed.
Yeah.
Right? Yishmael was an archer. Right? The question is, what's changed? So either it's changed from Binyamin to Yehuda, And up till now, Yehuda were horse riders and they didn't use archery. Other people use it. Everyone got different units. I was saying that, Yehuda. Or there were certain developments in archery that had gone from being hunting animals to using in war. A bit. So I don't know exactly what changed at this point. And it could have been very weak bows and now they had the long bow, right? Developments and what you do see, what's interesting is you see the Philistines, it's mentioned, as far as I know, it's the first time that archery is used in warfare. No, I'm saying historically, the first mention in Tanach, which means it could be that it was in other places, the Egyptians had it, but now we had it in our country fighting Philistines, so we're going to fight Philistines, you have to fight with the same weapons, otherwise you're going to lose, because they can, what does it say?
Maybe.
Good, all right. That's the idea. It looks like, I'm saying, the evidence that you have in the Tanakh is this is the way Shaul fell. You can get a guy to distance, we have to be able to do the same thing. That's why David starts off with this description. And it's already hinted to in the book of the Bereshis. That's what it is. Lelamed b'nei Yehuda kashes, we have to teach the children of Yehuda archery. Hine, behold, this idea that we have to take up archery, Kesuva is written, Al Sefer Yasha, in the book of the just, which means the book of Bereshis. Hatzavi Yisrael, again a very difficult, this is poetry. Hatzavi Yisrael. Now, Tzavi usually means
Deer.
a deer. It's not what it means here. It doesn't mean the deer of Israel. No. The word Tzavi means desire in Aramaic. Aramaic, which is a very close language to Hebrew, right, is Tzavi. You write in the Ksuva, when you ask a woman, does she want to marry me? And you write, that on this and this day, so and so said to this woman, and she agreed. I mean, she wanted to get married. It's vitzavi. Tzavi means right. It doesn't mean a deer. So here it would seem. Now, why we use an Aramaic word when we can say things in Hebrew is a good question, right?
Also, Aramaic was taken on later in Bavel, no?
Yes, but Aramaic was a language spoken. Even Avram Avinu spoke Aramaic, right? Lavan spoke Aramaic. Aramaic was a language that was around. So why would you in poetry use Aramaic? Because the beauty of poetry is you want to have a double meaning. I also want to compare Israel to a deer, even though it doesn't fit in with the simple text. But I purposely used an Aramaic word which means to want something, because Eretz Yisrael is the coveted land, right? It's the land that everybody wants. Muslims want, Christians want, Jews want. Everybody wants the land of Israel, right? It's God's land, so everybody wants it. It's the coveted land. So what's it going to do with a deer? If it was just coveted, I would have used the Hebrew word. But since I want to have this double meaning, I want to hint to the idea of a deer. So that's a fascinating idea, isn't it?
Is it the skin?
Very good.
Yeah.
Very good. The skin of a deer is very, very, very tightly stretched. And when you flay a deer, then it's not stretched anymore. It means you take all the skin off, right? It then shrinks to the size it would be, right? When you see a deer, it's very difficult to believe, right? Israel's nodding over here. Is it true? You've seen it? Yeah. When you see it, it's hard to believe how this would have fitted on this deer. Okay, let into the land of Palestine at the time. Okay, so they did a whole survey on the water resources and everything and they came up that they decided that Israel could sustain 250,000 Jews. That's all. It's about the size of Wales, and that's about the number of people there are in Wales, and that's what it's right. So. The truth is today there's how many million? 7 million, 8 million people live in this country. So one of two conclusions. Either the British are stupid, right? Which is probably true, which is definitely true. I don't know if that's the reason for this mistake, right? Or is it like Chazal say, that really Eretz Yisrael is like a deer. That when it's alive, it stretches. But when it's dead, it's hard to believe how this could possibly sustain so many people. So in 1925, when basically Eretz Yisrael was dead, right? Okay. It really, natural resources really could only sustain that number of people. But when Jews come back and make it alive, then it stretches like the skin of the deer. That's the Gemara. The Gemara brings a story about Gemara Gittin brings on Har HaMelech, which was some big mountain, and it says that the Romans wiped out all the inhabitants of this mountain in one frenzy of death in one day. And the Gemara says, how many people was it? It says there were 600,000 towns on this mountain.
600,000 towns.
Yeah, that's what it says. Just a minute. And it says each town had 600,000 people, except for 3 of them had twice as many. And you can do the maths, And you can know that there's more people on this town than have lived in the whole world since its creation.
600,000
Times 600,000. It's too big for your computer even to write the number.
E. Yeah, 3.6 E to a lot.
3 of them was
times.
And 3 of them are twice as big.
Yeah.
3 of them were
Seven.
1,200,000.
equals-
How many is it?
Hold on. Plus 600,000.
600,000 times 6. It's easy. It's 36 and 10 noughts. No.
Well, hold on. I gotta add the extra.
600,000 is
Yeah.
6 and 5 noughts. 600,000 times is 36 and 10 noughts.
And then
Okay. And how many is that? Well, I guess a few, right?
Yeah.
Roughly
That's not-
360.
360 billion, right? So you agree that there's more people on this town, according to this Chazal, than have lived on the planet Earth since its creation,
Yeah.
right?
About 3 times.
So obviously, right? That means the number, according to the graph of growth, the number of people today is probably equal to approximately to all the people who lived up till today.
What?
Yeah,
So work it out. Work it out. That's how the graphs work.
What do you mean? All the people that are currently alive today is equal to everybody that's been alive that
Till
Up to
today.
it, yeah.
That's fine.
Because it doubles in each generation. If you add the numbers together, approximately equal to the next one.
The population doesn't double. like-
Whatever. I'm telling you, look at the graphs. It's approximately right.
You lose millions also.
Yeah, but we're not talking about millions. We're talking about billions. Anyway, the point is, right? Right? What are you looking at?
No, that only holds true if
Approximately
every couple
equal.
has
I don't
4
think that's
kids that all
right.
survive to adulthood and all reproduce.
2.1.
No.
Anyway,
no,
whatever. This is nowhere near that number, right? So we're talking about twice that number, 3 times that number.
Yeah.
Okay? So, obviously the Chazal are exaggerating, right?
Yeah.
There's no question that Chazal are exaggerating. They didn't mean to make that number seriously,
It
right?
was just the structure
They're,
was so great.
they're just talking about a lot, right? A lot. Very lot. No more than that. Even bigger than that. A lot of people, right? Or whatever. You can take whatever approach you want. But the Gemara says, Abaye says, I've been to that place. It doesn't even you can't even fit 600,000 blades of grass on the mountain. It's not that big, right? So Abaye understood, even if you're exaggerating, right, which obviously they are, there's a limit to how much you exaggerate. So what's going on? So the Gemara says, you know why? Because Eretz Yisrael is like a deer. This is where the Gemara says this idea. It's like a deer in the sense that it just miraculously or semi-miraculously manages to squash much more people than you would imagine would fit there if you look at it at the moment. It looks like it's barren, nothing grows there, there's no water supply, there's nothing happening. You put a few people and it's a little mountain top village, that's all you can have. And you come here and you see that you can pick millions of people. How many people live in Yerushalayim? 1 million people live in Yerushalayim today. Like, this is meant to be some sort of little village that's got one water supply called the Gichon, right? It doesn't work like that. So that's the reason why the author, or David, uses this Aramaic word, because he wants to have this double message. It means coveted, but it also means Israel is like a deer. So, Hatzavi Yisrael, the choicest one of Israel. Israel means the people of Israel, right? Doesn't mean the land of Israel. That which Jews desire. Al Bama Isecha, on your elevated Bama. Today, Bama means
Where they like have the Torah reading.
yes, a bima, right? Or bama in modern Hebrew means a stage, the stage, right? Here but it really means elevator, something which is high up. So, on your, meaning you talking to the land of Israel, that which is coveted by the Jewish people, what's that? The land of Israel. On your elevated places, which means another way of saying mountains, it's a poetical way of saying on the mountains of Israel. Okay, on the elevated places of the desire of the Jewish people, Halal are the slain. I mean, the slain, those who have been killed, are on your mountains, on the Mount Gilboa. Ech naflu gibarim, how have the mighty fallen? The mighty referring to David, Jonathan and Shaul and all the other.
Well, we had that before, no?
This expression, Ech naflu gibarim,
How the mighty have fallen, I believe we have.
we say in Davenik, but it's taken from here. This is where it
We
comes
had
from.
it in Shmuel HaNavi.
Wait.
We had a different quote that I looked up and like it was from Shmuel HaNavi that I was surprised at. I think it was how the mighty have fallen.
Wait. When
I don't remember.
who else fell? We got to the sons of Eli. Comes from here. Okay, that's it. It's time. Got to carry on tomorrow.
Yeah, never mind.